Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of GM Fantasy. I'm Paul, and in today's video, we're going to do another episode of To Veto or Not to Veto. That is the question. So let's check them out. So a couple weeks back, guys, I did an episode on the channel called To Veto or Not to Veto. That is the question. Figured let's do another episode of that. I had a lot of fun doing it, and we'll go over some trades again that you see on your feeds all the time, and I'll go over some that have to be vetoed, some of them that don't need to be vetoed, and some of them can be a toss up. It'll depend on the type of situation that the league is in. So we'll go over a few of these. We'll see what you guys think. If you guys have any opinions on this, put it in the comment section. I'd love to hear what you guys think about these trades. And so we'll go over a few of these. But to start it off, let's go over what the definition of collusion is. So as you can see here, collusion is a secret or illegal cooperation or conspiracy, especially in order to cheat or deceive others. So that's your straight, definition of collusion right out of the dictionary. And if we want to do it, let's say in football standards, we can take a look here. In fantasy football, collusion is a secret agreement between two or more managers to act deceitfully or unethically to gain an unfair advantage for certain teams over others, rather than competing fairly against the entire league. And they got some examples here of what that would include, like one-sided trades, dropping players so specific partners can't acquire them, or agreeing to intentionally losing games to help another team make the playoffs. So if you see any components of this type of stuff in a trade, then obviously those trades need to be vetoed. But if you don't see this, then you're probably going to have to let the trade go through, even if it's really bad. It would have to be the worst lopsided trade you've ever seen that would really, really affect the league before you even consider doing a veto for those type of deals. So we'll take a look, I guess, on this one over here, and this one. They're saying they're trying to veto this trade. I accepted for Adams and HN. I thought it was pretty fair both sides. So this guy's trading Hunter Henry, Javonte Williams, Ladd McConkey for Devontae Adams and Devin HN. I personally will let this go through. It doesn't matter if you think it's fair or not. I don't see any collusion here. It's you're getting a 2-for-1, I guess you could say, deal. Hunter Henry and Ladd McConkey for Devontae Adams, and then you're basically switching up Javonte Williams for Devin HN. Now, obviously, preseason, this would have looked a lot different, but now that the season's happened, Javonte's, I think he's a top 5 running back if I'm not mistaken, and Devin HN's not far behind, but Javonte's definitely ahead of him, I would say. And Devontae Adams is, I would say, middle of the pack wide receiver. So, and not that McConkey's doing anything very well, but could turn things around. And Hunter Henry is one of the top tight ends right now. So, is it a great trade? I'm not going to say it is, but is it collusion? I'm not going to say that either. So, that's why I would think this trade has to go through, even if you don't like it. The next one over here that we got is this veto worthy since Jamar doesn't have a QB and Puka is on a crazy pace right now? So Jamar Chase straight up for Puka. I just don't see how you can veto the trade. I think this is more of a preference thing, especially if this is a dynasty or a contract league. You have the future to consider as well. So if the Jamar Chase owner is willing to trade you Jamar Chase for Puka straight up right now, if you want Jamar Chase, you go after Jamar Chase. I understand Puka's doing way better right now. He's got a better QB situation and all that, but it really depends on the situations of the teams. If this guy's rebuilding and this guy's contending, it makes perfect sense. So this is definitely a trade that I would definitely let go through. There's no collusion in this whatsoever. This one over here, as a commissioner, no-brainer to veto a David Montgomery for Justin Fields trade, correct? No, I don't think you veto this either. This could easily be, I need a quarterback, you need a running back. Where's the collusion in this trade? I agree that maybe you think Fields is worth more. Or if you're on the other side of the coin, you think Montgomery's worth more, and you think it's not a fair trade. Sure, but there's no collusion, and this is definitely I need this position, you need this position type of trade. This definitely has to go through. This is definitely not veto worthy in my opinion, at all. Over here we got another one. Commissioner threatening to veto after he already approved of the trade, claiming I took advantage of someone who doesn't know fantasy football. Am I in the wrong for, according to commissioner, for taking advantage of when there's money on the line, and that who's the one invited the person to the league? FYI, I received Rome. I definitely think Rome is worth more than a first round pick, but is it collusion? I definitely don't see it here. Is it a super lopsided trade? maybe not. You know, it really depends on what that 2026 first turns into, right? So is it a fair trade, right? Like just straight up. No, I would say Roma Dunze is worth more, but it's definitely not collusion. So this trade needs to go through. Bad trades are gonna happen. It's just the nature of the beast. So no collusion. Trade goes through. Over here we got one. My league is trying to vote to veto this trade I made with our league manager. I'm 2 girls, 1 cup. What do you think? So this one over here is Derrick Henry and JMO for Waddle and Collins. It's not, I guess you could say, the greatest trade, but I don't see any collusion for this either. You know, obviously this guy's getting 2 wide receivers, like good, better wide receivers than Jameson Williams, and then the other guy's getting Derrick Henry. Maybe he needs a running back. So I don't see any collusion with this. I would say this has to go through, and I don't understand why there's already 3 votes to veto for this. I think it's a decent trade. There's no collusion. Over here, we got thoughts on this trade that went down. Got owners saying it was cheating and it should have been vetoed. Others mad it happened. I processed it so they can use them for the weekend. It was between the first place team and a guy 1 and 2. Sorry, I don't veto unless it's super collusion or lopsided commission of 12 teams tied in premium full PPR. Add a note, it was between my team and another. I gave the other owner multiple options for the trade and this is what he picked. I don't think it being my team part matters, but characters being called into question. I'm coming to this group because I know it's not. What do you guys think? So with this one, kind of looked like he was trying to backtrack a little bit there, but when I'm looking at the trade, Ray Rice and Hubbard for Sutton, Penix, and Tootin. Is it the greatest trade? No, but I can see how this could make sense for both teams depending on their team situation. You know, I would say like Sutton right now is doing very good. And I wouldn't say he's on par with Rice. We don't know what Rice is even going to do yet. So it's kind of hard to gauge the value on that. And then Hubbard maybe for Penix and Tootin. You know, if you need a quarterback, then Penix for Hubbard would be, I think, a decent trade. And then you got Tootin there to sweeten the deal. So is it the best trade? No. Like, I can see why some people would be angry about this. But again, I don't see any collusion in this. So especially if they don't know each other. I don't think they mentioned that they know each other or that they're friends, but yeah, no, I would let this go because it's not super evident that it would be any collusion. So now we're gonna go here and see some trades, couple trades here, maybe that are toss-ups. You know, like maybe not for veto. So this one over here is this a veto-worthy trade or just a bad trade? 30-point differential on season. So Kenneth Walker and Justin Jefferson for Wan'Dale Robinson, O'Marion Hampton. Now, this one I can see here actually that this trade was offered on October 1st. So this was before the O'Marion Hampton injury. Because before, if it was after the injury, I'd be like, well, look, I guess it still depends if it's dynasty or redraft or contract league. But I definitely can see why people would be up in arms against this one. You know, you got Justin, like 2 proven really good players for Wan'Dale Robinson, like, look, he's a filler wide receiver at best, and then O'Marion Hampton is, I guess you could say, could be a good piece. So I can see, like, this is why I'm like on the fence about it because of O'Marion Hampton and his age. So I can go both ways on this one. Like, if the league demanded a vote for a veto, I guess I would grant the vote to see if, you know, but it would have to be unanimous. You know, if it's unanimous that everyone except obviously the 2 teams involved want this to be vetoed, then I would grant the veto. But if it's not unanimous, then I think I would have to let this go through because it really is one of those where it's like, man, it really depends, you know? Next one over here, that's like a toss-up. League wants to veto, I want to push through. Thoughts? So Woody Marks and Josh Allen, and then you got Drake London, Justin Fields, Jake Ferguson, and Jackson Dart. So obviously Josh Allen's the best piece here, and is it like, you know, if this guy really wanted to upgrade a quarterback, and then this guy's getting 2 decent quarterbacks in return, and then for Woody Marks you're getting a huge upgrade with Drake London and then Jake Ferguson, I can see why this trade could go through, but then at the same time I could see why maybe you can veto it because, you know, Josh Allen is worth quite a bit more than I would say any of these players. And Woody Marks is like, maybe now it's worth a little bit more, but it's not. Anyway, it's one of these trades where I'd be like, oh, you know, this would have to be another unanimous vote. And if it's unanimous, I guess you can grant the veto, but it needs to be unanimous. All right, and now we'll go to some trades where I think you definitely have to veto them, or not definitely, but like pretty you got strong cases for them. So this one over here, thoughts, PPR redraft, 10 man. Just saw this trade go through and players weren't allowed to vote on veto since they paid to have the trade processed immediately. So that's a little fishy in itself that you can just pay to get a trade done right away. But anyway, it's not my league. So they're trading Saquon Barkley for James Cook, Devontae Smith, Bijan Robinson. Obviously, the guy getting Cooks, Smith, and Robinson is, I think, definitely getting the better end of the deal. I don't know what kind of defense you can have for this. You know, like Barkley's, look, he's a great player. Don't get me wrong, but you're getting Bijan, James Cook, and Devontae Smith for him. Like this just screams collusion, and especially if they're friends. So this would definitely go to a vote, and I could see this being vetoed pretty easily. So yeah, like this one's pretty bad. The next one we got over here is, so this trade tried to go down, all hell broke loose. The guy at the bottom was trading away Jefferson and is fairly new to fantasy football, doesn't know anything, and was clearly getting taken advantage of. What do y'all think? Should this trade have went through or got vetoed? So you got Justin Jefferson, Jaden Daniels, and Jalen Waddle for Warren, Gainwell, and Lamar Jackson. So on the surface, it looks pretty lopsided, I'd say. Like, you can argue that maybe you can go 1-for-1 Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, but then Warren and Gainwell doesn't add up to Justin Jefferson whatsoever, in my opinion, and then you have Waddle on top of that. So it's like, this one would definitely, like, maybe I wouldn't veto this outright, but I think it should definitely go to a vote. And again, unanimous. It needs to be unanimous for this to be vetoed in my mind. But it doesn't look that good. I could see why people would think that there's collusion in this, especially if these guys are friends. So this one over here, is this veto worthy? Made the deal and was vetoed in a few hours. What's your opinion? Kyren Williams, Justin Jefferson for Jacobs, and Wan'Dale Robinson. So look, Jacobs, I think, might be just a tad bit better than Kyren Williams. If not straight across, it's an even trade. But then obviously Justin Jefferson for Wan'Dale Robinson, that's an outrage. Obviously Jefferson is the way better player. So this one's a really bad trade, and I can see the collusion in it. Like, there might not be collusion, and if that's the case, then I would let the trade go through. But I definitely think that there's probably collusion in this, because I don't know who would, in their right mind, make this trade without trying to cheat somebody. Just my opinion, but could be wrong. But I definitely think this is worthy of a veto for sure. Now, this one over here, thoughts on this trade? Appreciate any feedback. There won't be a veto, but curious on thoughts. So they're trading away Jerry Jeudy, Jerome Ford, Wan'Dale Robinson for Drake London, and Omarion Hampton. So I guess it depends on the timing of this one. But even if it is post Hampton injury, I don't think there's much defense. Like, Drake London is way better than Jerry Jeudy and Wan'Dale Robinson combined, and then Omarion Hampton is way better than Jerome Ford. In my mind, this is kind of a collusion trade. Like, if you're able to find out that these guys are friends, then it should be definitely vetoed. If they're not friends and complete strangers, then maybe another vote, unanimous vote. But this looks pretty bad. Now, this one over here, we got veto trade or no. So we got Jonathan Taylor and Isaiah Likely for Jawan Johnson and the Big Q. Now, obviously, Johnston is having a decent year this year, so his value went up, but nowhere near the value of Taylor. So, and then Likely and Johnson, I would say, kind of like a wash. Like, I know Likely hasn't played yet, but they're the same tier of type of tight end. So for them, that's like a wash right there. So you're essentially just trading Taylor for Johnson. And obviously, I think Taylor's the way better player. Now, really, I guess if this is redraft, then I can maybe accept this trade just because it's a redraft and there's no long-term, commitments to these players. Just because Johnson's having a really good year so far. But it's still hard to see how this is even fair. And so if these guys are friends, then it's definitely a red flag. If they're not friends, put this to a vote. And if it's unanimous, which I think it would be unanimous, then you go ahead and you veto this type of trade. And then the last one we'll take a look at is this one here. This trade is going through in our league. Keep in mind there is no money involved. It's just a fun. The commission is the one getting St. Brown and Kyron. What are we supposed to do? So obviously that there's no money in this league. It's kind of already like a Mickey Mouse league. So it doesn't really matter, no. But we'll just look at it just for fun, I guess. And so Kyron Williams and St. Brown essentially for Hunt and Godwin. Obviously, this is straight collusion or just the commissioner taking advantage of someone who has no idea what they're doing or just doesn't care. So this one, obviously, this one doesn't really have to have a vote. You just veto this right away as a commissioner. It's completely lopsided and completely unfair. Those are the trades we're going to take a look at today. If you guys think that I'm wrong on one of these situations, please let me know. I'd like to hear what you have to say. You know, it's like you have to understand as well. It really depends on the situation of teams. You know, we only get some of the information, not all of it. So obviously, if we had all the information, we can make better assessments if this is a trade worthy of a veto or not. But with the information we got, that's we got to go with that, right? So let me know what you guys think. Don't forget, guys, we got a contest going on right now on the channel. So if you guys ever wanted to join a contract league, here's your chance. We got a free $50 entry up for grabs on League Tycoon for the next subscriber league. It also includes the activation fee, so it's a $62 value in total. It's going to be super simple to enter. All you got to do is like, subscribe, and put the comment subscribed in the comment section. Take a screenshot of that. Send it over to me either via my X account or my email. And be sure to include an email address so I can get back to you and let you know that you've been entered into the contest. And then we'll have a draw on August 1st from a bucket. We'll pick one lucky subscriber, and they'll be able to join the league for free. And you know what, guys? If we get to 1,000 subscribers, I'll sponsor an entire league. So instead of one lucky subscriber, we'll have 9 lucky subscribers plus myself. And we'll start a brand new league sponsored by me. You know, YouTube has nothing to do with it or any other companies. So here's your chance, guys. You got nothing to lose. It's absolutely free to enter. And I'm really looking forward to getting this league started. So jump on that occasion, guys. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.